You're listening to the Ship Less Traveled, where small ships make big impressions.
We're two travel agents with a big obsession for small ship cruising.
From the Arctic to the Amazon, from European rivers to remote islands, if you can reach it by small ship, we're all about it.
We're curious, candid, and not afraid to say it like it is. So grab your life jackets.
Because you're cruising on the Ship Less Traveled. Hey everybody, it's another episode of the Ship Less Traveled. How you doing over there, Lorraine?
I'm good. Do you know what? I feel like I've realized this the last few times we've come on here. I feel like a newsreader.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here and I'm kind of waiting for my cue. I mean, we don't have an auto cue here, but I just kind of feel like a newsreader.
Would you be like Channel 4, ITV, BBC? What's your channel?
Um, do you know what? I never actually watched the news, but from the good old days when I did used to watch the news, that's what I feel like. I watched the morning show actually. I don't know if you've actually seen that with Jennifer Aniston. It's great. I love it. It's one of my favorite. But I kind of feel like one of those news reporters.
I love UK game shows. Sometimes I feel like a big game show personality when I'm on here on camera because I'm excited to talk about it. And sometimes on game shows you can win a trip, and we're talking about trips. And
Oh, yeah, that's
yeah,
good.
we
No, I
are.
haven't seen a game show for years. I just don't actually watch TV really, apart from dramas. I love a good drama these days, on Netflix or any other.
Yeah.
Um, love a good
Well,
drama.
yeah. Well, let me give you something to think about. Let's say I'm on a game show and you've come on my game show and you've won the prize. And today's prize, it's a cruise. It's a cruise you want to go on. It's a small ship cruise, but it's a cabin that does not feature a balcony. Is that a deal breaker for you, Lorraine? How are you going to feel about that?
That is a great
It's
question.
a
I don't
great
know.
question. And folks, this is the Ship Less Travel. We are here today to talk about our love of balconies. I am Dave Wentworth. I'm a travel agent here in Newfoundland, Canada, and my website's destinationwhatever.com.
And I'm Lorraine McCowart here in England, bespokecruiseholidays.co.uk, and I love a balcony.
I know you do. So, I mean, in simplest terms, I mean, what do you like about that balcony so much? What are you here for?
Do you know what? It starts with, people say when they go on a cruise, they're not going to stay in their cabin. And that is absolutely true if you have an inside cabin. Okay.
Right.
It's true. Right. But the whole experience comes from having the right cabin. Like when you go, any hotel in the world, okay, you're going to Barbados. Okay. What is the first thing you look for? You look for a hotel with a balcony overlooking the sea. Why? Because that is the whole experience. You want to
Yep.
be sitting on your balcony in the evening, enjoying a nice meal, glass of wine, or whatever your choice of drink is. You want to get up the next morning, you want to open your curtains, you want to have your cup of tea or coffee out on the balcony. That is why you go. That is the whole holiday experience. So why should that be different on a ship when you can have an oceanfront suite on your
Absolutely.
ship every day. So, and that's it, when you're on a cruise, okay, you're waking up in a different destination probably every day. So you want to open your curtains, you want to open your patio doors, you want to go out onto your balcony of your cuppa, and where are
Ta-da!
you? Where are you? And
Yeah.
you look down at the boardwalk and there's people just coming and going, and you're just sitting there with your drink and you're in your new destination. It's the whole holiday. It is the whole holiday. And so throughout the day, you go back to your cabin, you're using the cabin to get changed in, to have showering, to relax in. Sometimes you just want to get away from the ship, even if it's just a small ship with 200 passengers, you want your own privacy, you want your own balcony. Order dinner to your balcony, sit and eat dinner. They bring it to you, they set the table for you, and you're enjoying eating dinner out on your balcony. Your last wine of the evening, good night, world, you
From your
know,
balcony. Folks,
on
she
your
loves the balcony.
balcony. There's just, and then you leave the door open overnight. Okay, you're not supposed to do that, guys, but what they don't know can't hurt them. And you can just hear the sea, you can just hear the gentle movement of the sea while you're relaxing off to sleep.
Yeah.
That's it's the holiday, whether you're in a hotel or on a ship, your room always makes your holiday. I think that is what I truly believe.
Well, so for me, I had not had a balcony until my recent cruise to Antarctica. And I'll talk,
Really?
yeah, because of just various circumstances, either I was booking late or it was offered to me as an agent and the room category was what it was. It was kind of like that game show scenario. And, you can't look a gift horse in the mouth. So I'm still going to go on the cruise. But I just couldn't seem to get my way to a balcony and all the cruises I've done. So with this Antarctica one, when the option came up when we were setting it up to get the balcony, I really wanted it. And I was debating, do you want a balcony or not for a polar cruise? Because you're talking about looking at some beautiful landscapes. Maybe it's a Mediterranean vibe, or maybe it's other, tropical locations. Like I picture people going through the Caribbean with their balconies. So does Antarctica warrant a balcony? Absolutely. And you touched on it because when we'd wake up in the morning, we would be in a different area. Maybe it's an area now with icebergs. Maybe it's an area with fjords. And we just open it up and be like, it's like opening up a Christmas present. Like, where are we today? And
Yeah.
so we love that. And of course, we didn't get any sunsetters on our balcony because the sun didn't set the whole time we were there.
You can
But we still go in
pretend.
the evening and you could still see a bit of the sky would go from blue to like salmon pink and peachy colors. And so we could still appreciate that in privacy on our balcony with drinks from our complimentary bar. It was just wonderful. And so, yeah, like I became a total convert. I love that balcony. And my day-to-day experiences, part of that day-to-day included enjoyment of the balcony.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I first started out, my first cruise was actually on a balcony, because I got a free trip on Royal Caribbean in the Mexican Riviera. But anyway, we'll bypass that. But beyond that, my first family cruises, we had an inside cabin because there was four of us.
Right,
And really, we couldn't afford more than inside. Um, but after having that balcony already, it was uh, you just notice the difference, because you're in an inside cabin, you don't want to spend time in there. You can't just open the door up and let the fresh air in and look outside, and it just really is all part of it. And since then we've really always booked a balcony apart from the Star Clipper, because as with your situation, there were no balconies left. We literally booked 2 weeks before we left. But we had a couple of portholes which kind of made it easier, but there was nowhere to step outside just from your own for your own bit of privacy in the outside world. Um,
right. Well,
and yeah, I kind of noticed that, and it did. I will say it did bring it down for me. I it just made a difference to me.
it sounds an awful lot to me like when people go to business class in their flights, and it's very hard to go back from what you're describing. Once
Oh,
you get balcony, how do you go
yeah.
back?
I've never flown business class, so I'm not that rich. But I would love to. But yeah, that's the thing, once you go business, do you ever go back?
Yeah.
Are you spoiled forever?
I think it can happen like that. And so balconies, for me, it's like a business class. Like if it's affordable, sometimes there's the right booking, there's promos, things like that. If you ever see a promo, folks, and it's a balcony upgrade, that's a great time to book that cabin
Oh,
because you're gonna want that balcony. Now, you talked about stepping out on the balcony, and I talked about stepping out on my balcony in Antarctica. I have a question for you, and I have not experienced a river cruise with the French balcony or the Juliet balcony, sometimes it's called, and I believe you've had that experience. And maybe you can tell me something I don't know, but I just sometimes wonder, is it really worth it? Because these balconies, can you even step on it? So, what would you say to someone like me?
Okay, no, you can't step on it, but yes, it is 100% worth it. In fact, I haven't been on a river cruise that hasn't had a French balcony. I haven't been on the window. I'll tell you why. So, river cruises is obviously different, and the style of ships. So, the bottom deck of the ship consists of windows. And when you look out of these windows, which you can't open, obviously you can't on the ocean cruise either, but when you look out of these windows, you're low. You're just above the river waterline. So,
Hmm.
you're seeing ducks go past,
The swan view.
yeah, which is lovely, but you can't see above that. So, the window is high up in the cabin, and they're little slot windows. So you really can't see much above that waterline on
You're
a river
not getting
cruise.
vistas or landscape.
No, you're not getting anything. You're getting water. So then you upgrade. So the second and third decks have French balconies. Now, yeah, you can't step out onto it, but within that cabin, you have a little table and chairs. You can open up and get the fresh air in. You can sit there with your cuppa. You can sit there with your glass of wine, and a good book to read, and you can take in the view. And what's great about that is, again, overnight, you leave the door open and you can just hear the water softly
Mm.
lapping on the boat. And it just makes a difference. I don't even know how to explain it. I can't describe it.
But
It's
it's
just that feeling that you've got the outside world coming in, whether it's a full balcony or not. And on some river cruise ships nowadays, they do have full balconies on a lot of ultra luxury cruise lines now where you can actually step out and enjoy the balcony. But on a river cruise ship, it's just different. It is just different. I would always recommend, even if it's a French balcony, the fact that you can go in and open up that window and have that outside space coming in, always recommend it. I wouldn't do a river cruise without a French balcony at the
in-
lowest.
interesting. And also, I'm curious to ask if when you did your transatlantic on QM2, did you have a balcony for that?
We didn't.
You
And
did
I'll tell you
not.
why. Because we traveled back from New York to Southampton, the four of us as a family. And we booked quite late because initially we didn't book late. We booked later on in the August, and I decided I wanted to come home earlier in the August. So actually, we booked that sailing quite late.
Right.
And therefore, there are only inside cabins left. So for a week, that was quite tough to not have that. And it was a lovely week as well. It was like the water was like crystal. It was just smooth the whole way across for that whole week in August. And a balcony would have been great just to sit out there and enjoy that Atlantic Ocean in the middle of nowhere. I
I
love
get
that
it.
feeling of being in the middle of nowhere. We didn't experience that, but hey, I'm going to do that crossing again. Maybe, the other way with you.
It's a
Uh,
fantasy of ours, yes.
a fancy. So we are going to book that balcony day and we're going to experience that crossing with a balcony.
Absolutely. We'll do a whole podcast from the balcony. But
Oh, yeah, why
yeah,
not?
why not? But I guess I had the question because sometimes people say with an ocean crossing, do you need the balcony or save a few dollars, save a few pounds and book something without the balcony? But it sounds like even on the ocean, you would have found benefit of having that balcony.
Yeah, yeah. I would have loved to have a balcony on that crossing.
Yeah, right on.
I would have loved to be out there. And again, it's that feeling of being really small in a big wide world, that huge, huge ocean out there. odd, to wake up and to go to bed experiencing that, that's got to be something. That's got to,
Absolutely. I love watching the sunsets, and I didn't get any moonlight in Antarctica, but if I could see some moonlight from my balcony, I would be totally into that. That would be a vibe. I'd love that.
yeah. I always take those sunset pictures from a cruise ship. There's nothing like a sunset at sea. Nothing.
Absolutely. No matter what
Anywhere.
ocean. Red sky at night, sailor's delight. That's what my nanny used to
Exactly.
say. Yeah.
Exactly. I just, I don't know. I think if you can just afford the few pounds or few dollars extra each night, to get the whole experience, why wouldn't you? It's like I said, any hotel in the world, you go to Paris, and they have Juliet balconies on some of their hotels. And why? Why do you want that? Do you know why? Because you open up those doors in the morning and there is Paris, you know, everyday life moving around you, Parisians going to work, coming home, you savor that, you take all that in. It's all whole part of the holiday experience. And
I
that's kind of why you want a balcony at sea or a balcony on the river, just to soak in that atmosphere of where you are. It's the whole experience.
Well, you convinced me on it because prior to asking the question, I'd always wondered, is it worth the difference? Here in North America, the cabin cost can be about 20 to 30% higher to go up to these cabin grades. And so a lot of times, people wonder about it. And of course, you've had the firsthand experience that you've been able to share with us today on it. And it sounds like it's worth it.
I think, when I was selling cruises in Canada and I was trying to talk to people about upgrading to a French balcony on the rivers, because river cruising is really big from over there. I booked so many river cruises
We
when I
love
was in
it.
Nova Scotia because they love it. They love Europe, and it's easy. It's easy to book. And you know, when you tell people that, okay, the window's great and yeah, the price is probably a lot cheaper, but you don't get that experience of the destination. You just don't get it at that waterline. You can't breathe in where you are and experience it. And my husband and I mean, I know not every traveler is the same, but my husband and I just love to go back to the cabin in an afternoon and read. We open up that French balcony window off. We've done a morning's tour and we've done everything we want to do in that destination and we've had lunch and then we just want to read for an hour just to kind of refocus. And then we're like, okay, let's go out again, and we go out and do more. It's just to, ground yourself, get that refocus back, sit in your cabin away from everybody else on the ship and just do it, read or do whatever, listen to a podcast, do whatever you want to do in your
Scroll
free
your
time in the
tablet.
privacy of your own cabin, the privacy of your own balcony. It makes the holiday.
Well, I've saved something for the end here. I have an OMG moment from my balcony in Antarctica I just want to tell you about. So, if you ever go to Antarctica, Lorraine, of course,
I will.
absolutely, you want to
I
get a
will.
balcony. We were out there maybe the second day, and we entered an area that had a lot of whale activity. And from our balcony, we were able to watch the whole show. And if you didn't have a balcony, where would you go? You'd have to go out onto the main decks. And I did see moments where, because in the time we were there were other whale watching moments. Everybody that needed to get a place to watch the whales would kind of all crowd a bit on the main decks. I mean, again, it's a small ship. It wasn't terribly crowded, but if you get what I'm saying, it wasn't the same as I could have had my house coat if I wanted to on and just stepped
Yeah.
out with a glass of
That's the
champagne
thing.
watching the
It's your
whales.
private space.
And there they were just sitting there. And again, it gave me the view. So, another reason why, whether it's polar or European or anywhere in the world, I think you want to get the balcony. If you can get the balcony, my Amazon River cruise, that thing did not have a single balcony. All the cabins were inside, it had decks going around. It was a small 14 cabin ship. But if you can get that
Wow.
balcony, get the balcony. Yeah, absolutely. Well, folks, she's booked 1,000 river cruises in Canada, but now she's booking them in England. I can help you if you're in Canada. My name is Dave Wentworth, and my website is destinationwhatever.com. So head on over there and check me out.
I'm Lorraine McCower at bespokecruiseholidays.co.uk. All of the ocean and river cruises are on there for this side of the pond.
That's something we've got on our website, folks. We each have these little cruise finder widgets that you can go over there and just browse cruises. So, especially if you want to have that moment scrolling on your tablet, or right now we're recording in winter, if you've got a cold night at home, head on over and search up a dream cruise. Just browse and look at the ship details. I love that little tool on our website, don't you, Lorraine?
Oh, I do as well. I look through and I found my New Year cruise, Dave. I've decided that the end of 2026, I'm going to be on a ship in the somewhere in the world.
Somewhere in the world.
And,
Details to come, folks. It's reason to keep
details to
listening to the
come.
ship less traveled.
That's it for today's voyage on the ship less traveled.
Stay connected, follow our Facebook group, and share the podcast with your cruise loving friends.
For listeners in the UK, you can find me at bespokecruiseholidays.co.uk.
And for listeners on my side of the pond, I'm destinationwhatever.com.
We're passionate about small ship cruising, and we're not afraid to make some waves.
So join us next time on the ship less traveled.